The story begins in the early hours of May 24th, 1987. A 23-year-old Canadian man named Kenneth Parks was asleep on his sofa. His life was in a downward spiral. He was drowning in gambling debt from horse racing and had recently lost his job. Just a few hours earlier, he had fallen asleep watching television. He had a plan to visit his in-laws the following day to ask them for financial help. But in the middle of the night, around 1:30 a.m., something changed. Parks suddenly got up, walked out of his home, and got into his car. He embarked on a 22-kilometer drive down the highway, arriving at the home of his in-laws. He had a spare key, which he used to unlock the door and let himself inside. What happened next was horrific. He unintentionally caused severe harm to his mother-in-law and father-in-law during an unconscious state. But the story doesn't end there. In a state of confusion and drenched in blood, he drove himself to the nearest police station and uttered a shocking confession. "I think I've just seriously hurt 2 people." His own hands had caused significant injuries, yet he seemed to feel no pain. While being taken to the hospital, he calmly told the paramedics where they could find the item involved in the incident. The strangest part of this entire event was that Kenneth Parks had no motive to harm his in-laws. During his trial, his lawyer presented a defense that stunned everyone in the courtroom. They argued that Kenneth Parks had committed this terrible act while he was completely asleep. He wasn't conscious of his actions, and therefore he should not be held responsible. Because Kenneth Parks, they claimed, was sleepwalking. Was he really sleepwalking? Is it even possible for a person to do something so complex while asleep? If someone does commit a crime while sleepwalking, are they responsible for their actions? And the biggest question of all, why do some people behave this way in their sleep? What is the science behind it? In this video, let's decode the mystery of sleepwalking. In medical terminology, sleepwalking is known as somnambulism. It's a type of sleep disorder that happens during a specific phase of sleep called non-REM sleep. To understand this, we need to know that our sleep is divided into 2 main types. One is rapid eye movement sleep, or REM sleep. The other is non-rapid eye movement sleep, or NREM sleep. As the name suggests, during REM sleep, our eyes move back and forth quickly beneath our closed eyelids. This doesn't happen during NREM sleep. When we fall asleep, we first enter NREM sleep, which itself has 3 distinct stages. In stage 1, we begin to feel drowsy, and our ability to react to outside sounds and activity decreases. Gradually, we drift into a deeper and deeper sleep until we reach stage 3 of NREM. This is the deepest stage of our sleep cycle. It's very difficult to wake someone from this stage, and if you do manage to wake them, they often feel confused and disoriented. After passing through these 3 NREM stages, a person enters REM sleep. This is the stage where we dream. Our heart rate increases, and our brain becomes much more active, working to consolidate memories and process emotions. But sleepwalking does not happen during the dreaming REM stage. It occurs during stage 3 NRM, the deepest phase of sleep. A person might get up and start walking. Their eyes may be wide open, and they might even seem to react to their surroundings, giving the illusion that they are awake and conscious. In reality, their sensory perception is almost completely shut down. Though their eyes are open, they aren't seeing things clearly. They can't smell or hear properly. They might navigate their surroundings out of habit, bumping into things along the way, but they aren't consciously thinking about any of it. Often, a sleepwalker's eyes might be rolled back, and they will have a blank, vacant expression on their face. Most importantly, upon waking, they have no memory of anything that happened while they were sleepwalking. If you wake a person during an episode, they will be confused and disoriented, just like someone woken from deep N3 sleep. Our sleep is structured in cycles. We pass through all 4 stages, N1, N2, N3, and then REM, in each cycle before starting over at N1. A single sleep cycle typically lasts between 90 and 110 minutes. During the first half of the night, we spend more time in the deep N3 stage. As morning approaches, the REM stage becomes longer. Waking up from N1 sleep feels the most refreshing. If you wake up directly from deep N3 sleep, you'll feel groggy and drowsy. This is the science behind the advice you might see on social media to sleep for 7.5 or 9 hours. The idea is that these durations are multiples of a 90-minute sleep cycle, meaning you're more likely to wake up at the end of a cycle. However, this is just an average, and each person's sleep cycle length is different. Sleepwalking episodes themselves can last from a few minutes to several hours, and their frequency varies. Some people may have an episode only once a month, while others might experience them multiple times a week. And what people can do while sleepwalking is astonishing. Consider the case of Lee Hadwin, a British-Australian artist. This man can create incredible paintings while sleepwalking. At just 15 years old, he drew 3 portraits of famous Hollywood actresses in his sleep. The most bizarre part is that he has no artistic ability when he's awake. He can only paint in his sleep. A similar case occurred in Scotland, where a man named Robert Wood gets up at night to cook full meals like omelets and pasta, earning him the nickname the Sleepwalking Chef. There have been famous examples in India as well. Cricket legend Sourav Ganguly once shared a story about his time rooming with Sachin Tendulkar in the 1990s. He recalled waking up in the middle of the night to see Sachin aimlessly walking around their room before sitting down in a chair. When Ganguly asked him about it, Sachin explained that he had a habit of sleepwalking. Unfortunately, not all sleepwalking episodes are so harmless or creative. In many cases, people can become unpredictable and unintentionally cause harm, like in the case of Kenneth Parks. But first, why does sleepwalking even happen? In many cultures, sleepwalking is linked to myths about ghosts or memories from a past life. But the truth is, it has nothing to do with spirits. Sleepwalking is a purely neurological phenomenon. It's caused by an incomplete awakening of the brain. In other words, one part of the brain remains fast asleep while other parts become active. Although the exact mechanism isn't fully understood, recent research suggests that as the brain prepares to enter deep N3 sleep, something disrupts this transition. This causes the brain states for deep sleep and wakefulness to overlap. The part of the brain that controls movement wakes up, while the part responsible for consciousness stays asleep. This is why complex motor activities are possible. People can walk, sit, and stand. Some can even drive cars, cook, or paint. This is possible because parts of the brain like the brainstem and cerebellum can control complex motor behaviors without input from the higher, conscious parts of the brain. Our autonomic nervous system, which you may have studied in school, controls functions like breathing, heart rate, and digestion without our conscious thought. A fascinating 2021 study on sleepwalkers found that during their deep N3 sleep, the rest and digest branch of their nervous system remained highly active, while the fight or flight branch was suppressed. This was a shocking discovery because it was the exact opposite of what scientists had previously believed. Recent studies also suggest that in older adults, the onset of sleepwalking can sometimes be an early warning sign of neurodegenerative diseases such as dementia, Parkinson's disease, or general cognitive decline. There are also common myths we need to debunk. The popular image of sleepwalkers walking with their hands stretched out like zombies is completely false. Another widespread misconception is that if you wake a sleepwalker, they could suffer a heart attack or fall into a coma. This is not true either. However, as mentioned earlier, it is best not to wake them, as they will be extremely confused and disoriented. So, how many people globally experience this sleep disorder? According to a large meta-analysis, 6.9% of people will sleepwalk at least once in their life. The condition is most common among children, especially in males between the ages of 7 and 15. But fortunately, in most cases, they stop sleepwalking by the time they reach adulthood. There is also a noticeable difference in behavior. When children sleepwalk, they generally appear calmer or move more slowly. Adult sleepwalkers, in contrast, often exhibit quick, hurried movements as if they are in a rush. They might walk very fast or suddenly flop down. These strange and rapid movements can sometimes be frightening to witness. Scientists are still researching the exact reason for this difference between young and adult sleepwalkers. Whether or not a person is prone to sleepwalking is largely determined by genetics. A major study published in JAMA Pediatrics revealed a strong link. It found that children with only one parent who had a history of sleepwalking have a 47.4% chance of sleepwalking themselves. If both parents had a history, that chance increases significantly to 61.5%. In contrast, children whose parents never sleepwalked have only a 22.5% chance. Researchers have even identified a specific genetic locus on chromosome 20q12q13.12 that likely plays a role in passing the disorder from parents to children. But apart from genetics, several other factors can trigger sleepwalking episodes in people who are susceptible. The first and biggest reason is sleep deprivation. If a person isn't getting enough proper sleep, it increases the chances of a partial awakening. Secondly, high levels of stress can also trigger episodes. Third, obstructive sleep apnea, a breathing disorder where a person momentarily stops breathing during sleep, is another significant factor. Fourth, certain medications such as sedatives, antidepressants, and some antipsychotics can increase the risk. Finally, among children, common triggers can include a fever or other illnesses. Children with asthma also have a higher incidence of sleepwalking, likely because the condition disrupts their sleep quality. And now, let's return to the original question. If a person commits a crime while sleepwalking, should they be found guilty? This creates a fascinating legal dilemma. In most legal systems, a conviction requires two elements: the actus reus, the guilty act, and the mens rea, the guilty mind or intent. A sleepwalker has committed the act, but where is the intent? In the case of Kenneth Parks, his lawyers argued exactly this. They claimed he could not be held responsible because his body committed the act without the involvement of his conscious, guilty mind. Medical experts testified that Parks was indeed sleepwalking. As a result, the jury acquitted him. He was found not guilty. This case became a global landmark for the sleepwalking defense. However, this defense is not always successful. In 1997, an American man named Scott Falater caused fatal harm to his wife. He too claimed he was sleepwalking. But the evidence told a different story. The jury was not convinced. He had hidden the item used in the incident, changed out of his stained clothes, put them in a container, and changed into his pajamas. A neighbor even testified to seeing him put on gloves. The jury concluded that his actions were too complex and purposeful to have been done while asleep. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. In India's legal history, the most significant case is that of Papathy Amal from 1957. A young new mother, she accidentally fell into a well during an unconscious state while holding her baby. She was rescued, but her child sadly did not survive. She was charged, and her lawyers argued she was a sleepwalker. The lower court rejected this defense and sentenced her to life imprisonment. However, on appeal, the Madras High Court passed a revolutionary judgment. It stated that if it can be proven beyond a doubt that an accused person was sleepwalking, it can be considered unsoundness of mind under Section 84 of the Indian Penal Code and can be used as a valid legal defense. Of course, the dangers of sleepwalking are not just to others. Sleepwalkers can seriously injure themselves. They often bump into walls or furniture. The greatest dangers are falling down stairs or from a balcony, especially one without a safety grill. In June 2024, a 19-year-old boy in Mumbai who was known to sleepwalk suffered a severe accidental fall from his 6th-floor balcony, which became fatal. People have also wandered into unsafe areas or started driving. If you know someone who sleepwalks, it should be taken seriously. The absolute first priority is to make the environment safe. Remove sharp objects, install safety gates on stairs and grills on balconies, and lock doors and windows securely. Finally, remember that sleepwalking is not a supernatural event. It offers a profound glimpse into the complex workings of the human brain. While science may not have unraveled all its secrets yet, it is, like all other mysteries of the body, a biological phenomenon.